Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Oyalowo. It looks like we are all set, or at least we should be all set for crucial primaries that are coming up. And let's talk about that. Yesterday, you recall that we were speaking with, chieftains, a chieftain of APC, and he was saying that all was not as well as it could be in the party. In fact, he went as far as saying that very few people know what's going on anymore in the APC. Okay, we'll continue trying to find out exactly the state of affairs. Now, last week we did have Honorable Ayobami Oyalowo on the program. That was last week as an aspirant for the House of Representatives on the platform of APC. Now, that was last week. Between last week and now, we're going to be having Honorable Ayobami Oyalowo. But now, he has to be described as a former aspirant, having pulled out of the race. Good morning to you, Honorable Ayobami Oyalowo.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you.
How are you today?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for making time for us. Now, you got to explain that part. Last week, I introduced you as the aspirant. You were telling us all about your aspiration, and all things connected. But today, you are sitting there as a former aspirant. You withdrew, and why did you withdraw?
Like the letter I wrote states clearly, we initially were 9 aspirants on from my constituency, and the party leaders mediated, spoke to a lot of us, all of us individually and some collectively. So we were advised, we were spoken to, and I listened to the advice. I told the party line, and I decided to step down my aspiration for the person they wanted to run on the platform of the APC. I decided to do what I thought was right in terms of respecting the party by listening to them and not making any fuss. Although I think two aspirants from my constituency have gotten very angry. One is the incumbent. He has written to leave the APC. The other one has left the APC too. So, yeah, people react differently. For me, I just felt, like I said on your program last week, it's a service that we want to serve the people. And if we can serve in this capacity, there are always other opportunities. There are always other places where we can serve. So for me, it's not a do or die affair. I believe service to the people should be without unnecessary rancor. So
just to quickly refresh our memories, Honorable, just to quickly refresh our memories, what was the federal constituency that you were interested in?
I was to represent the Ogbomoso North, Ogbomoso South, and the Orire Federal constituency in Oyo State. And
then, if I understand...
That's within the Oyo North Senatorial District.
I get you. And if I understand what you're saying to me, you've been prevailed upon to adopt a consensus candidate?
Well, not necessarily. I have told the party lines. I think one or two people might still want to contest, but we already know who is going to win, in the sense that there was an agreement and they gave reasons. Whether the reason is good enough is not for me to say here, but I have accepted their decision, and I believe whoever will emerge, we already know, and
that is,
hopefully the party will win the general election. That's what matters on the long run.
Indeed. Are you at liberty to, in the interest of sort of knowing what's going on, to share the reasonings behind? Because, as you know, in a different context, talking about the presidential contest, Asiwaju's team is, solidly against, if I can put it that way, this whole matter of consensus that that's not fair. Let's go to the field. So, but on this particular level, what were the reasonings advanced by your party that you are loyal to and are saying that the most important is for them to win? But what was the reasoning?
Oh, Uncle Yori, you want to put me in trouble. I will not answer your questions. The reasons they gave of it were private. They were so yes, I accepted some of it. I didn't see the sense in some, but on the long run, they are the party leaders, and I always believe I'm a Yoruba young man. We have hierarchy in our culture. If the leaders or the elders say something, sometimes you accept not because you think it's the best, but you believe that the elders knows best. However, putting that to the context of the Asiwaju election, Asiwaju is probably the oldest contestant in the presidential election. The presidential primary of the APC. So if we are going to have any reason to have a consensus, if we are going to have any reason for people to step down, then they should all step down for Asiwaju. If that's all if that's what the party wants. However, if not, then let us have a proper primaries for the presidential election, because look, we can do anything and get away with it in some of the other elections, but the presidential election is key, is too important for us to mess with. Therefore, for many people who support Asiwaju, including myself, the man has every right to say what he has said, which is, let us go to the field. Look, if that man lost on the field, if he loses on the field on Sunday, it will be acceptable. He should not be forced to do any kind of consensus if he doesn't want to do it. And I completely support him. For several reasons, he doesn't want, and I completely accept his reasons. Therefore, for the presidential election to be well fought, because right now we are looking at not just the PDP. Remember yesterday, one of the frontline aspirants just left the PDP. That is, and then you also remember that if former Governor Rabi Musa Kwankwaso has left the PDP. So we're having a very strong front force this time around. Therefore, for the APC to stand NHR in the incoming election, we must have a candidate that is you describe as the candidate to beat. And to be honest with you, this is without any disrespect to anybody. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is that man to beat. So if the APC wants to truly stand it of winning this election, we have no ways about it. Let us go for a primary that is transparent. And if Asiwaju now lose the election, which I believe we will not, but let's, for the sake of argument, say he lose, then you will be able to call him to support the winner. But if you do anything that you call Kolokolo Yoruba or Nigerian parlance, it will not be palatable to now ask him to support. And it's not supporting whoever wins our primaries. I tell you, I kid you not, the APC will lose disgracefully. To make this very good for the APC, asking to be anointed, is not asking to be imposed, is not asking to be foisted on the party for a transparent primaries. And for me, that is democratic enough. I stepped down because I don't want to continue, maybe for some other private reasons. But if you want to go on, why do you want to stop them? You have the right to.
You know, Honorable Oyalowo, a word we've heard, in recent times in connection with the APC is the shenanigan. Members have complained that, look, there are all sorts of shenanigans going on. And so I was going to ask you in that connection, you said that here you are, you're a loyal APC member. You've been prayed, they've asked you, to, behave as a party man, and indeed you've done that by what you've just told us, that you've pulled out of the race. It might not have been entirely satisfactory, but you've done it in order to be a good party man. I wanted to ask you what you think the current situation says about the leadership within your party, because it's from there that we're even going to come onto the outside. So the ability of the party to produce leadership for the nation. But first of all, let's stay within. What's your idea about the leadership? But Having this chat with Honorable Ayobami Oyalowo, former House of APC, House of Reps aspirant, as we started off by saying, he was on this program last week, and that was indeed how we introduced him, because he was indeed that, an aspirant, hoping to represent the Ogbomoso North, South, and Orire federal constituencies. But he said that things have changed. They say a day is a long time in politics, and so things have changed. We were having this conversation with Honorable Oyalowo. He has conformed to the elders within the party, but I got the impression that it's not as if he was entirely satisfied with everything, but there are costs to being a good party man. So that's the way we got to. But I was then asking Honorable Oyalowo, now what does this say to you? Can you share with us? There's one aspect you said, no, I'm not going to answer that one. Okay, but this one, what does it say about the leadership within the party, your party, especially that these leaders are the people who are midwifing, from the point of view of the APC, the next president of the country and other important leaders? What does this say to you as a stakeholder and an insider, sort of?
Uncle Yori, I must say that this is their first test. It's their first litmus test. We must remember they just came into the office barely 2 months ago, and we know how difficult it was to get them. A few of us had to pick up the gauntlet and fight the established powers, especially the caretaker committee that was trying not to leave office. So I want to say that maybe it's taking them a while to be able to put their act together. However, feelers this morning says they are doing the screening. Feelers we got is that the NWC is going through all documents submitted, and also they already have a security report on all the presidential aspirants. We thought we had 25, but from what the chairman said on BBC Hausa, I think he said 28, so that's a bit confusing. But from what we understood, we heard that they are having a screening right now, and that means maybe if they now have questions, they might invite them individually or whoever they have the questioning session with. So we want to believe that they are working on the ground. We want to believe that the presidential primaries to elect the candidate will still hold as scheduled on Sunday. So we don't want to create any unnecessary hitting of the polity, as it were. So I want to give them the benefit of doubt, even though I believe we are walking a very tightrope, especially considering the time. If you saw what has happened over the week in the PDP primaries, we could see all the drama. We saw some boxing matches. We saw a lot of parallel congresses and elections being held yesterday on the news. A lot of primaries were held and it was parallel. So we are hoping that our own party leaders have seen all this and they are learning, because you don't want to win an election, a general election, that can easily be removed by the court. The issue of Zamfara and Bayelsa is still very fresh in our memory. So let us hope that the leaders are doing what is right by the party, because for some of us who have sacrificed so much, it will be a disaster. It will be very painful. Our sacrifice will have been a waste if the people in charge of our affairs will allow their selfish interest to override the common good. I didn't want to create unnecessary issue. I believe that, yes, I have a right, I have an interest, but my interest cannot override the collective good. So I did what I thought was right. So I believe the chairman and those at the National Working Committee will also learn to do what is right by the party. If they do anything that will jeopardize the party, it will be a disaster that some of them will live to regret for the rest of their lives. So we believe that they will do what is right. So let's take the word of the chairman from the interview he just granted yesterday, that everything is still moving according to plan.
Well, everything is moving according to plan, but unfortunately, it would seem, maybe I shouldn't edit out that, you remove the word unfortunately, it would look as if within the APC, they know their own business, they are keeping the consensus hope alive, which is worrisome, because not everybody is down with that, as people say locally. And so
let me butt in here.
Yeah.
You know that by the electoral law, the Electoral Act, a consensus can only be achieved if everybody signs and writes and signs that they have agreed to the consensus. I hope you are aware of that. Therefore, you cannot force a consensus by the new Electoral Act that has become a law. So we are not afraid of any backyard movement. Even if they want to do consensus, then every member of the party who had purchased the form and has the right to run for the primaries must accede to that. If not, even if we have 28 of them and 26 accept, or even 27 accept, and one does not, then automatically there must be primaries. So they can't force anything that is not out of the law. So we're not afraid of any of that subterranean move. So I believe they are aware of the law and they will live by the law. Else, we will be walking a tightrope and we'll be inviting the bear to come in and eat where it did not sow. So clearly, we think their senses are intact. We believe that.
Excellent. Especially, as you say, there is the law that people have to work with, and you've just explained it, paraphrasing the law. But that's where the word shenanigans come in. What cannot be done straightforwardly, of course, if indeed the feelings are strong enough. But you've explained that, look, that would be, I like the way you put it, it's a high-wire tightrope. People have to be very, very careful. But what does this say from your point of view, your perspective of being an insider? You see the lie of the ground a lot better. What does this say about the perception of the public out there about your party? Because everybody is close, especially the APC members we talk with, they're close to their party. But what does this say to the outsider, and does it matter about the goings-on in APC?
No. Like I said, while I said we are walking a tightrope, we are still walking within the law. There is a number of days allowed by INEC. We've not crossed into the wrong date. So no matter how we want to perceive it, we believe the law is being followed. As from tomorrow, there will be election for the Senate, then the House of Rep, the governorship, and the House of Assembly. And by this morning, we already had names of people to conduct those elections. So I believe that they are doing what is right, and then I believe they will get it right. So yes, the people have a right to be anxious because whatever happened in the ruling party has the potential to have a domino effect in the general polity. Therefore, and I also think because the people running the party understand that, then they will do what is right. So yes, it's a challenge here and there. It's tough. Like I said, we're walking a tightrope, but I think we will cross the Rubicon without shedding any blood, hopefully.
Well, metaphorically speaking, of course, I'm sure. Yes. Metaphorically speaking.
Yes, I mean it metaphorically, yes.
Oh, okay.
Metaphorically, yes.
That is with some...
that's what I mean. By we will walk the Rubicon without shedding any blood, hopefully.
Oh, okay. So it's a question of... the question I would have asked is how ready do you think? But what you've said is that, look, there are strictures. There is a whole regulation, a timetable. So ready or not, you will go ahead as the party has to go ahead, ready or not. But you probably rather have it as ready, meaning that everybody in the party is on board. Nobody is feeling, isolated. Nobody's been sent to Coventry, so to speak. In short, you have the kind of family vibe that the recent word shenanigans has been intruding in upon. That would be the ideal. But ready or not, these primaries will go ahead.
The primary must go ahead because, like I said earlier on, there is a time frame and we can't go out of that time frame. Our opposition are already rounding off, submitting names, and I believe all things being equal, as it is written in the last amended timetable on the 24th, by tomorrow our primaries begin, and by Sunday it will completely round off with the presidential primaries, so that by Monday names will get submitted and then we will be able to meet the deadline of INEC, and then we can now begin to prepare for the general election.
Okay.
So there's no problem.
All right. Well, I just want to thank you very much, Honorable Ayobami Oyalowo, former aspirant for the ticket of his party's ticket for the House of Reps, but he said that in line with internal consultations, he has withdrawn, and he said he didn't share the information, but he said that everybody knows who indeed the aspirant is going to be. So some sort of a consensus arrangement has been worked out at that level. Perhaps,
please put this one.
As I said, this morning I just heard, I have to refer to him as a former aspirant. The first time we spoke with him days ago on this program, he was an enthusiastic aspirant, hopeful of his chances. But as he was just explaining in the first half of the program, things happened, and he has, I don't know if I should insert the word voluntarily, but he has withdrawn his candidature, and he said that is just towing the party line and being a good party man. I guess you can imagine the rest, because it didn't seem as if he was really pleased with it all, but there is the discipline, political discipline, I imagine. Now, okay, so away from all of that, therefore, you understand that the man you are seeing before you, Honorable Ayobami Oyalowo, should now probably be described as the former aspirant of the party in, for the House of Reps seat in Ogbomoso. So that's that. So thank you for staying with us, Honorable Oyalowo. Now, looking at, shall we say, the big one. Everyone is important. All these elections are important, but looking at the big one, which is the presidential, let's go through something of an exercise. Let me take your views as to the strengths and seriousness of the candidates. As you know, your party has a full field of presidential aspirants.
Well, I don't know. The first person to start, originally we even thought maybe it was just a joke, was initially Governor Ayobami of Kogi State, and he has not slowed down, even though initially we all assumed that because the national chairmanship was going to be zoned to the North Central, automatically the presidential candidate should come from the South normally. But he's still in the race, and he looks like he doesn't want to stop. It looks like he wants to go all the way. Then we have the former Governor Akpabio, who has not really been going out so much. We also have in the race former governor and former minister also, Rotimi Amechi, who has done a few consultations here and there. But the two front runners, really, we also have the governor of Ekiti, current governor of Ekiti, who is also consulting, but not as widely as the two leading aspirants, which happens to be the current and the sitting vice president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, SAN, who, as at yesterday, said he has completed a tour of all the 36 states. That is some serious work there. So he's putting in the works. And we also have the candidates, because others are aspirant, like I put them. We have the one that I think is a candidate in waiting, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who, as I speak with you, should either be or on his way to Ondo right now. He's also about rounding off the tour of all 36 states. I think he slowed down the last 2 days, thinking that they will be invited for the screening. But when they realize that the screening will be done without necessarily they be present, he has continued so that he too can conclude the 36 states. So yes, for me, we have two leading aspirants. We have a few other aspirants. We have a lot of categories people have placed them. Some are just jokers, some are negotiators, some are just looking for relevance, they're all looking for something one way or the other. But the very serious ones are the two leading ones. Then we have the Senate president currently, who looks like a dark horse, but it could be a dangerous dark horse because we've had a lot of stories that I don't want to repeat here because they are still rumors. And I've been trained and told not to give life to rumors, especially on live TV, because people take whatever they hear on air as gospel truth. So we have all these people, but looking at their strength, who has the most structure, who has prepared for this for over 40 years, that man is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I'm going to tell you why. When the military president, IBB, that's Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, did all the Maradona thing in 1993, I was a university student. I was a member of the SDP then. I voted, I canvassed for vote, I worked with the party. That's the SDP party. So I have come to know Governor Bola Ahmed Tinubu since that period. He has been consistent in building structure, in being involved. And then when the despot Sani Abacha took over, we all knew what happened with the Nadeco, with all the shenanigans of killing people who disobey or who were not listening or who are not going to toe the line of drop your ambition for MKO Abiola. Then we all knew that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who then before then was the chief treasurer of Mobile Producing International, had to run away from the country. Many of them, including Professor Wole Soyinka, had to all leave the country. And we know the man who almost single-handedly sponsored their trip and their stay outside the country. That man is Bola Tinubu. This is a man who has built structures in over 40 years. He's been waiting for this day. So if anybody is going to ask me, I'm going to be honest to my truth, to my heart, that man is the most prepared presidential aspirant and the man who is more prepared, because his 8 years as governor of Lagos State proved to everybody that this guy is not an accident of nature. This guy is not a mistake as an administrator. He's an astute administrator. He is an intelligent administrator. He has foresight. He's a man who knows how to identify, pick, and use the best talents available. Every other person, some of them have been governors, some of them have been ministers, some of them have been so many things, but none of them come close to this man. So if you tell me who is our best chance of winning the 2023 general election, I will tell you without thinking twice that that man is Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because his name says it all. Asiwaju, he leads, others follow. That is my own truth. That is what I think, and I hope that the party does what is right by him. Let us have a proper primary election to elect who will fly the flag of the APC come 2023 when INEC will conduct the general election.
Talking about shenanigans within the APC, over the years, there have always been issues, as there will be in any family, about quote unquote internal democracy and that kind of a thing. Now, what is your read or your idea as to why your party, the ruling APC, has not been able to be forthright so far on the whole matter of zoning? And that is why you are mentioning some names to me this morning, such as Senate President Lawan, for example. He's not the only one that is out of the conjecture of the gentleman's agreement, or shall we say understanding, that should exist. Now your party has refused, or shall we say is yet to, let me not say has refused, is yet to speak categorically on the matter of zoning, which will sort a lot of problems out and take a lot of people out of the contest within the family. Well, what's your idea as to why that is going on?
Let me quickly answer that. Uncle Fala, you need to understand also that some things are not necessarily said. We have already zoned the presidency of the APC to the south when we took the chairmanship of the party from where it used to be when we had the presidency in the north. Then we used to have the president come from the south. So now if we're having the chairman of the party coming from the south, so now if we're having the chairman of the party coming from the north, it beggars belief that we will now pick the presidential candidate from the north. it doesn't work that way. It will not work that way. So I believe that because it is not a constitutional agreement, like you rightly posited now, it's a gentleman's agreement. And if you also listen to our chairman yesterday, he said something. He said we will talk about this zoning thing after we have concluded the screening. So I want to believe that they are working on it. I want to believe that at the right time it will be said. So, you know, sometimes it's a joker thing. Let me use a football analysis. You know, sometimes a coach wants to play a team that he sees as maybe an obstacle or a direct rival. He will tell you, oh, his best player. He will tell you, oh, he has injury. He will tell you, oh, he might not make it. He will tell you, oh, maybe we'll just wait for late fitness test. And we all know that late fitness test means the guy is likely going to play. But in order to discombobulate his opponent, he says, oh, this guy is not feeling well. He got a knock in our last game. So, yes, maybe the APC is playing that kind of a game of not letting all the cat out of the bag. I don't want to sit here and condemn the chairman because I believe at the age of 76, he has seen it all. I believe he has experience. I believe he's an elder indeed. He's not an Agbaya elder like the Yoruba would say. He's a proper Agbalagba elder. So I think he's just being wise by holding some things close to his chest.
Okay.
I believe he will do what is right. He cannot be from the north and then also say we'll have our candidate from the north. I think everybody is just trying to play their game. Some of these people bought the bought the form so that they can negotiate for something else. So there's no fear at all. There's no fear about that.
Well, at this time, for real, once again, I got to thank you, Honorable Ayobami Oyalowo. We're going to have to leave it there. And thank you for offering the much that you did offer. There were some that you said, that's entirely strictly for family. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for your time again.
Thank you, sir.
All right, then.
Thank you so much, sir.
Our pleasure. Seamlessly. The other thing we wanted to talk about is the Kaduna train hijack. The terrorists actually making demands, fresh demands, and this, of course, has led to trauma among the families of all of those who were abducted. We have with us Professor Abdulaziz Atta, who is a spokesman, shall we say, for the victims. All those who are directly impacted most closely. A fine morning to you, Prof. Abdulaziz Atta.
Morning, sir.
Thank you.
Morning to everybody.
Indeed. Just put us in the context, please. I described you as the spokesman for for those that were abducted in that train hijack. Do you actually explain to me how close you are to any of the victims in that event?
Okay, thank you very much. I have my aged 85-year-old mother in captivity there. She's around 85 years old. And at the same time, I have my senior sister, who is around 53 years old. She's in the captivity there.
Well,
with the others. So I have two people directly close to me.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. So what can you tell us, given this inhumane ultimatum by the terrorists, abductors, bandits, what do you want to call them, and what you would like to say out there publicly?
Okay, what I can confirm is that one, that audio that everybody had 2 days ago, that audio is real. It's those that abducted our loved ones that spoke with a journalist. So it's real. So if the audio is real, that means the ultimatum they gave that within 7 days, if their children with the government are not released, they will stop feeding our loved ones and start killing our loved ones. So I don't have any reason not to believe that audio and the statement they've made.
What is the interaction, if any, that you've had with government on this? Because government also must be really, this must be tremendously important to government as well. Have you got any joy, any encouragement? How do you feel about government's reaction, if there's been any that has been shared with you on this whole problem?
So let's look at the two levels of government in Nigeria, the federal and the state. The state government got in touch with us around about four weeks ago, and subsequently, although it came in very late because today is the 60th day and 60th day of the events. So, but the state government got in touch with us about 4 weeks ago through the Commissioner of Internal Security, Honorable Samuel Arwan. They have been giving us
talking about the Kaduna
support.
State. Yes, okay. The Kaduna Kaduna State Commission of Internal Security. Yeah, Honorable Samuel Arwan have been in touch with us and giving us assurance that they're doing all their best in getting our loved ones out of captivity. But in that same audio that we had 2 days ago, you can clearly, they made a statement that yes, the government is actually talking to those that abducted our loved ones. The federal government is actually talking to them, but the federal government needs to do more. Unfortunately for us, the relative as a group, federal government have not had any direct contact with us. Today is the 60th day. On Monday, it was 8 weeks of the 8 weeks that the side event took place. We've not had any direct contact from the federal government as a group. How does that make you feel?
How does that make me feel? I think I'll rather rephrase your question. How do I actually feel now? How do I feel now? I normally give people example. When you lose somebody, when somebody dies, you know that that is the end of that person. You have a conclusion to that. You mourn and accept the reality. But for me, this is 60 days. You have the loved ones. You're in pain. You are in serious pains every day. You hardly eat. Your sleep, you hardly even sleep. The life is completely disrupted. For me, I'm fortunate. I'm happy that ASU is actually on strike. Without ASU on strike, just imagine, how will I go into the class and teach the students? How will I have done that? It would have been impossible. When I have my 85-year-old mother and senior sister in the forest under armed captivity, how will I? Life has completely changed, turned upside down for us. It has been extremely difficult. In fact, you have some of us that are feeling suicidal. Some of us are actually feeling suicidal. So, but we draw the strength to carry on, because whatever we are feeling, our loved one in the bush, they're in worse situation. Okay. They're in worse situation. Well, imagine you have...
I beg your pardon, Honorable. Thank you very much for sharing that harrowing feeling with us. The whole country can empathize. Your beloved mother, your senior sister, and that's not just about you. All the other people involved also have relatives. Thank you very much for sharing what you have with us. And I imagine the whole nation is praying that this will resolve itself properly. Thank you very much for making time for us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Indeed. Okay, so that's our program. We've run out of time, but thank you very much for being with us. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folare. Bye-bye for now.